You know the drill. You're applying for a job online, you see that huge wall of text, the privacy statement, and what do? You scroll and click. I agree. We've all done it. But what are we actually agreeing to? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole process. We're breaking down the privacy statement for job applicants from a huge global tech company, Infosys.
Yeah, that one little click, it kicks off this whole pretty complex journey for your personal information. So let's find out what you're actually signing up for and where your data ends up once you hit that submit button. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the fine print, the basics. Then we'll look at the info you hand over and what I'm calling your digital handshake. After that, we get into the really cool stuff, the AI interview. Then we'll track where your data travels. And finally, and this is important, we'll talk about how you can take back some control. All right, first things first, the fine print. Before we get into exactly what data they're collecting, we need to get on the same page about the single most important term you'll find in any privacy policy. And here it is, personal data. Now, according to their document, this is basically any piece of information that can be traced back to you. And it's not just the obvious stuff like your name or email. It's a really broad definition that covers everything we're about to talk about. The big takeaway here, if it points to you, it's considered personal data. Simple as that. Okay, so let's get to the moment you actually apply. You found that perfect role, you're excited, and you start filling out the form. What exactly are you handing over in that digital handshake? We start with the basics, the stuff you'd totally expect, right? Your name, your contact details, your birthday, a photo, and of course, your resume. This is all pretty standard for any job application, but trust me, it doesn't stop there. And this is where the level of detail gets pretty interesting. It's not just your latest degree they want. The policy says they can ask for your entire academic history. We're talking grades, school names, the years you passed, all the way back to your secondary school days. I mean, think about that for a second. You're not just sharing a qualification to prove you can do the job. You're potentially handing over a detailed timeline of your education, a whole record, starting from when you were just a teenager. Now, if you make it to the shortlist, well, that's when the data collection really kicks into high gear. They start the background check process, which means asking for some extremely sensitive information about any legal trouble you might have had. This is a huge step up in how personal the data gets. Okay, so you've basically provided your life story on paper, but now we're stepping into the most futuristic part of the hiring process, where artificial intelligence takes center stage. And this is where things get really fascinating. See, up until this point, all the data we've talked about is stuff you type into a form. It's all text. But for the interview stage, they start collecting a completely different kind of data. And that's right, biometric data. During online tests and interviews, they capture images of your face. But they don't just store the picture. They use it to create something called a face descriptor, and then run AI analysis on it. So, what on earth is a face descriptor? Honestly, the easiest way to think of it is like a digital fingerprint, but for your face. It's a super complex mathematical signature, just a unique string of numbers that an AI can use to identify you. It's not a photo, it's a data file that is uniquely you. And why do they do this? Well, the official reason is all about security and identity verification. By comparing this digital faceprint at every step of the way, their AI can confirm that it's the same candidate from the first test to the final interview, which helps prevent fraud. So you've submitted your resume, your school history, and even your unique face descriptor. What now? Who gets to see this mountain of your data, and where in the world does it actually end up? Well, your data gets shared pretty widely. Internally, you've got teams like recruitment, HR, and finance who obviously need it. But externally, it goes to vendors who do the background checks. And in some cases, even Infosys' own clients or government agencies can get access for legal or contractual reasons. And it doesn't just stay in one place. Your data becomes a world traveler. As a massive global company, Infosys is clear that your personal data can be sent to their offices and servers all around the planet. An application you submit here could be viewed by a team halfway across the world. But there is a home base for all this information. The policy clarifies that while your data might take a few trips, its main storage location, its primary residence, is on servers located in India. So how long do they keep all this stuff? Well, the policy says they hang on to it for as long as it's needed for legal and business purposes. That's a bit open-ended, but it's a pretty standard practice. Once they don't need it anymore, it's supposed to be securely disposed of. After hearing all of that, it's easy to feel like you've just lost complete control of your information. But you haven't. And that brings us to the final, and I think most empowering part, your rights. This quote, straight from the privacy statement itself, is so important. It confirms that you have the legal right to see the data they have on you and, crucially, to correct it if it's wrong. The data is about you, and you still have rights over it. And acting on these rights is actually very straightforward. There's a clear 3-step process. First, know your rights. You can see and fix your data. Second, write up an email with your request. And third, send it off to the company's dedicated privacy email address. It's a real, actionable step you can take to manage your own data.
So we've gone on this whole journey, from a simple click to AI-powered facial analysis and data flying across the globe. The technology behind hiring is evolving at an absolutely incredible pace. And it leaves us with one final, really important question. As these systems get smarter, who's ultimately responsible for protecting your digital identity? The company? The government? Or is it you? It's definitely something to think about the next time you go to apply for a job.